Yeah, if you don't mind, please, can we clear the room?
Okay, thank you.
We can
begin. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to this post-policy press conference, fourth for the 25-26. Friends, we have with us Governor, Reserve Bank of India, Shri Sanjay Malhotra, Deputy Governors, Shri M. Rajeshwar Rao, Shri T. Ravi Shankar, Shri Swaminathan J., and Dr. Poonam Gupta. We also have with us Executive Directors, Dr. Ajit Joshi, and for the first time, Dr. Indraneel Bhattacharya. I also welcome my other colleagues from the Reserve Bank. As always, we'll have a few housekeeping announcements. Sir, there are around 23 participants from the media, and I request the media participants to please stick to one question so that everybody gets a chance. I'd also request everyone to switch on the mic when they are intervening so that the people listening to this transmission, they are able to listen clearly. And once you are done, please switch it off. Sir, so with your permission, I'll call out the names. I would ask Ms. Lata Venkatesh from CNBC to ask the first question. Lata, please.
Thank you, Puneet, and thank you, Governor, for the opportunity. You have said in the statement that the fall in inflation opens up space for further supporting growth. You have omitted the word limited, which was there previously when you said limited space. So should we understand there is space for more than one cut? And what are the trigger? If you had the space, why not now? What trigger are you waiting for? You also said that the transmission is broad-based. Are you okay with the way bond yields have moved? There doesn't seem to be transmission there.
Yes, there is a change, as you have noticed. I mean, inflation has reduced considerably since we met earlier in June by 1%. And so that does open up the space. At the same time, growth you have seen, while it has surprised us on the upside in Q1, Q3, Q4, and even next year, there is a downward revision slightly. And as mentioned, it is on account of the tariff, the 50% tariff that has come into play, offset to some extent by the GST. Why not a rate cut is again, given in our statement. Monetary policy transmission, while it has been good across sectors, it is still happening. And it's not only monetary policy transmission. There are other policies, for example, the government GST rate, and a number of other policies announced by the Honorable PM and the government. They are taking shape and their impact is still unfolding. At the same time, there are still a lot of uncertainties. We see developments every week, every day, and we also see responses there too. There is still, clarity on that account. And so that's why the MPC felt that we should pause. Insofar as transmission to government bonds is concerned, you are aware that there was a good transmission of about from 686 peaks or thereabout to 630, about 46 basis points. And after that, there has been a hardening. So the net impact thereof is only about 660, 659 today, so about 30 basis points more than 30 basis points, yeah, about 30 or less than 30 basis points in the government yields. We are watchful, and we'll see, how ultimately it is, of course, for the demand and supply. We'll see how all the needs of the economy are supported.
Speak about limited. Why did you drop that word? So
I mentioned that inflation has dropped by 1% from our earlier forecast. It is now at 2.6% from our earlier forecast. So it has dropped down by 1%, and so that's the reason. And the growth at the same time, I did mention, has also been revised slightly downwards, primarily, of course, as I mentioned, on account of trade-related, the higher tariff that has come into play, which is still negotiations going on, etc., still unfolding. But we have taken that.
To cut, not limited space.
Yes, we have made that change. Yes, and that's the reason. The changing growth inflation dynamics is the reason that we have changed the language.
Thank you, sir. For the next question, I'll ask Mr. Mayur Shetty from Times of India. Mayur, please.
Some adjustments to the growth forecast in first quarter, but what impact will it be on the financial markets? And will the GST reforms and the deregulation that you mentioned be enough to offset all the negative factors?
That's the attempt, that whatever are the external headwinds, we try to counter them. Ours is primarily a domestic demand-driven economy, so the impact is limited. It's not as high as some of the other countries, as I had earlier mentioned. And the government, as well as the RBI, both fiscal, monetary, and other policies, will make all efforts to ensure that whatever are the headwinds, they can be countered. At the same time, you are aware that negotiations are still going on. Government is looking at other means, opening up other markets. There has already been a trade deal with the UK. Negotiations are on with so many other countries, including Oman, EU, etc., that will also open up markets for our exporters. And on the whole, the Indian growth has been quite resilient, and we are very hopeful that we will continue to maintain a very high growth trajectory while maintaining price stability.
Thank you, sir. Next, I'll have Mr. Manojit Saha from Business Standard. Manojit, please.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Governor. The commentary is that inflation is coming down while there is softening of growth expected because of the trade-related uncertainties. I wanted to understand, so this clearly hints that going ahead, rates can probably come down. Rates going up is not an option. So is there a discussion to change the stance to accommodative?
Yes, there was a discussion. As you have already noted, 2 members want it. You don't have a vote. It's more of a forward guidance. Let me again, clarify. This was clarified in one of the earlier policies. It has got nothing to do with liquidity. It is only as a measure of forward guidance as to where the rates can be going forward. So 2 members, Professor Ram Singh and Dr. Nagesh Kumar, have given their guidance as accommodative, while the others have maintained it at neutral.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll have Ms. Hamsini from Money Control. Hamsini, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Governor. I'll move a little from macro aspects. One of the things in the policy speech which sort of caught my attention a lot was the limits for specified large corporates. That has been sort of done away with, and the reason in 2016 it was introduced, one of the reasons cited was to also develop a very vibrant bond market and de-risk the banking sector to some extent. So now that we've gone back on that, what is the inference that one should make, that credit growth for large corporates should once again come back or be fed by banks, or despite all efforts to create a little bit of vibrancy in bond markets, it's not yet picking up? How should we infer that particular change, sir? And as a continuation to that, a lot of changes have also come pro-banking sector in this particular speech, like for instance, funding acquisitions, etc. What was the rationale in making, or in opening the doors for ease of doing business for banks, granting a lot of their wants?
A lot of questions in one question only. First of all, my understanding is that the 2016 policy was more about mitigating risk and reducing, limiting exposure to large corporates at the banking system level, not at the bank level. For the bank level, I would like to clarify that the large exposure framework which was there continues. There is no change at the bank level, individual bank level. Whatever is the large exposure framework continues. At the banking system level, any borrower which was having an exposure, a credit limit of 10,000 crore rupees or more from 2019 onwards, this limit was progressively reduced from 25 to 15 to 10,000 in starting from 2016 to 2019. That has been done away because it is felt that that the large exposure framework is able to take care of the needs at the individual bank level, and at the banking system level, if there is a need, we have the macroprudential tools already to take care of that. Thirdly, you have been seeing, that the share of corporates in the total banking exposure has in fact, come down over the years. I do not have the right numbers. I think last 10 years it has reduced by about 10% or so. So the risks are not so many. So that's the primary reason, why we have reduced, why we have proposed to remove this large exposure framework for specific borrowers at the banking system level. And then there are a number of other measures, ease of doing business. I think we are now 7 measures on top of some 5 measures, smaller measures, which we had announced couple of days ago. That's a continuous process. We need to continue looking at rationalizing our regulations so that the productive needs of the economy are met with the least of compliance burden, with the least of cost, while at the same time ensuring that wherever prudential measures are required, they are not compromised.
थैंक यू सर. अब मैं श्री अनुराग शाह ET Now स्वदेश से आग्रह करूंगा कि वे अपना प्रश्न पूछें. अनुराग जी.
थैंक यू सर. पुनीत सर. सर, जिस तरह से आपने अपने संबोधन की शुरुआत में भी जीएसटी रिफॉर्म की बात करी, आखिर में भी जीएसटी रिफॉर्म की बात करी, तो सर जो ग्रोथ का टारगेट को रिवीजन किया गया है उसमें टैरिफ का कितना योगदान है और जीएसटी रिफॉर्म का कितना योगदान है? और क्योंकि सर 22 तारीख से ही ये रिफॉर्म की शुरुआत हुई है, तो आगे चल के इसमें और ज़्यादा जो ग्रोथ का आउटलुक है उसमें और बदलाव हो सकता है. और सर महंगाई को जो आपने 3.1 से 2.6 में लाया है, तो जो जीएसटी रिफॉर्म है एक सरकार की तरफ से बहुत बड़ा ऐलान किया गया और उससे पहले बजट में जो पर्सनल इनकम टैक्स में ऐलान किया गया, तो इन दोनों के बाद से लोगों के हाथ में काफ़ी ज़्यादा पैसा रहेगा और वो कंजम्पशन में जाएगा, तो वो महंगाई पे कितना इम्पैक्ट डालेगा? और सर एक पिछली बार मैंने एक सवाल पूछा था, लेकिन सर वो थोड़ा सा सही से नहीं पूछ पाया, तो अगर अनुमति हो तो बाद में पूछ सकता हूँ.
तो पहले ये जो आपने बोला है, ये सभी का जो प्रभाव है, चाहे वो जीएसटी हो, चाहे वो 50% टैरिफ हो, बेसलाइन में हम 50% टैरिफ को मानते हुए ही हमने सारे अपने अनुमान अब इसमें अनुमान में हमने उसको इंक्लूड किया है. तो लेकिन जैसा कि स्टेटमेंट में भी बताया गया कि जहाँ तक वृद्धि दर की बात है तो जो टैरिफ हैं 50% का टैरिफ और साथ ही साथ जो अनसर्टेनिटी है ग्लोबल डिमांड, इसके दो इम्पैक्ट हैं। एक तो जो ग्लोबली डिमांड पे न केवल यूएस डिमांड बल्कि पूरी ग्लोबल डिमांड के ऊपर में जो कमी आएगी, एक वो इम्पैक्ट है जिसकी वजह से हमने, आपको मालूम है कि 20 बेसिस पॉइंट्स पहले अपनी वृद्धि दर 6.7 से 6.5 करी थी और अब एक 50% का जो इम्पैक्ट है वो डायरेक्ट एक्सपोर्ट्स यूएस के ऊपर में है, जो कि कम हो सकता है यदि जो अभी जो वार्ता चल रही है वो और सकारात्मक होती है। और जीएसटी का इसका जो प्रभाव है वो उससे कम रहेगा, हमारा अनुमान है, तो इसलिए वो पूरी तरह से ऑफसेट नहीं कर पाएगा। कुल मिलाकर के जैसा कि हमने कहा करीबन 20 बेसिस पॉइंट्स औसतन की कमी इन सभी इम्पैक्ट्स की लेते हुए हमने ये अनुमान अपना लगाया है। कुल मिलाकर हालांकि इस साल में चूँकि पहले 6 माह में अच्छा इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी हुई है और हमारे पास में नंबर्स ऑलरेडी आ चुके हैं, तो इस वजह से कुल मिलाकर के इस वर्ष का जो ग्रोथ फोरकास्ट है वो बढ़ा है।
धन्यवाद सर। अगर समय मिला तो बाद में पूछ लीजिएगा, बाकी सबको मौका मिल जाए। धन्यवाद सर। नेक्स्ट आई विल रिक्वेस्ट स्वाति भट्ट फ्रॉम रॉयटर्स। स्वाति प्लीज।
Thank you, sir. So, at the RBI for the last decade or so, largely the focus has been on reducing the banking sector risks. But now, by easing the large exposure framework, allowing banks to, fund acquisitions, IPO financing, more in shares, aren't you in some way, making, inviting possible risks here? I mean, and what are we trying to achieve through all this easing? Can you just throw some light on that? Thank you.
We have taken measures very balanced, calibrated, thought out, considered. Even though we'll be doing a public consultation, even pre the formal consultation, a number of consultations, and there are measures on both sides. There are at least a couple of them, ECL, credit risk, related capital adequacy norms, which I won't say which put higher requirement, I don't think so, but it will be better targeted. Those banks, depending on the risks, some of them may have to provide, and keep higher credit, it will be better targeted. And similarly, some of the other measures that we have taken to enhance the flow of credit, improve the competitiveness of the banks. It's not as if those measures were not there at all. For example, project finance, we were already allowing project finance. Project finance for infrastructure companies was already allowed. We have not seen, I'm sorry, acquisition finance. For acquisition finance was not, was already allowed for infrastructure companies, and now we have expanded it. Similarly, the loans against shares, etc., or for IPO financing, it was already there. It was not revised for a number of years. So it's but natural that, we revise them. I think on the whole, all these measures taken together, and we'll continue to take more measures, as and when required. Always the aim will be to promote the stability while at the same time improving competitiveness, encouraging and enhancing growth of the economy. You want to come in?
Sir, I think as Governor has already mentioned...
Because number of measures actually, these measures pertain to the regulation division. I'll request DGMRR to...
I think most of the measures have been well thought out and calibrated, one. Second, the banking system's ability to handle the risks has improved over the period, so there is some enough provisions. Third, most of the measures have enough guardrails built into them to safeguard the interests of the banks and the financial system. And speaking of the loans against shares, I think while the limit has gone from 20 to 1 crore, I think the limits were last revised in 1998. So inflation itself, if you factor it in, it's not really very significant increase. So on overall, I think it has been a calibrated set of measures. And again, it's coming up for public consultation, so we will take the feedback and revise it if appropriately required.
Thank you, sirs. Next, we'll have Mr. Vishwanath Nair from NDTV Profit. Vishwanath.
Hi, good afternoon, Governor. I'll go back to your first speech as RBI Governor, where you spoke about the cost of regulation and the ease of regulation. Are we to see these 22 guidelines that, or whatever, indications of guidelines that you've listed out in today's speech as a move towards that? Because while ECL is a very necessary and very delayed sort of framework that is coming in, a lot of others seem to be giving banks whatever they were asking for, some of it. Like, for example, acquisition financing was something that banks have been speaking very vocally about over the last few weeks. Is that how we should see these moves?
Yeah, see, circumstances change, times change, requirements change, and so nothing should be frozen in time. And so that's why we had earlier also said that we will be continuously reviewing our regulations. In fact, we have decided in the FSDC under the chairmanship of the finance minister, where all the finance sector regulators come together to review each and every regulation every 5 to 7 years. So while we are doing that, and while it will be a continuous process, as you are mentioning, some of these things which have come our way, we have thought it appropriate to revise them, and that's a very, it's very important that we continuously revise, review, improve our whole regulatory ecosystem.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll have Mr. Anup Roy from Bloomberg. Anup, please.
Thank you, sir. Sir, in the policy you mentioned about rupee reference rate with trading partners. Now with major trading partners, so far we have 4 rupee reference rate, and now it will be expanded. So what are those currencies? And also I wonder, what will be the benchmark reference rate that you will use? And will that also increase rupees trading in the international market? Like, what I mean is that earlier there used to be a cross currency like INR, USD, and then USD, say CNI. How will you fix that?
Yeah, I think the objective is that you minimize the use of crossing currencies to get rates. That will help both our currency as well as the other currency. We are currently looking at a couple of currencies. We are looking at Indonesian rupiah as one. We are looking at AED for another. But there are a few others. We will gradually keep taking them up. About your question on how do we set the benchmark? We'll have to see. We'll have to see because there are not many active transactions to begin with. So the process has to, FBIL has to work out, what is the best way of initiating something. This is a case where, the pricing, the reference has to be shown first, and the market has to pick up from there. So keeping that in mind, we'll have to work out ways of, how do we arrive at what benchmarks do we use for these reference rates. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. अब मैं जी बिजनेस की एकता सूरी को आमंत्रित करूंगा कि वे अपना प्रश्न पूछें.
गुड आफ्टरनून सर. सर, मेरा सवाल यहाँ पर आम लोगों से जुड़ा हुआ है, उनकी जेब से. मैं ये पूछना चाहूँगी कि पिछली पॉलिसी से लेकर इस पॉलिसी तक 2-3 खबरों ने बहुत तूल पकड़ा हुआ है. सबसे पहले तो ये कि क्या बैंकिंग सेक्टर का ये कहना है कि जिस तरह से यूपीआई ट्रांजैक्शंस बढ़ रही हैं, हमारे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर बहुत बड़ा एक तरह से बर्डन भी बढ़ता जा रहा है, लेकिन कॉस्ट उतनी हमारी रिकवर नहीं हो रही. तो क्या आने वाले दिनों में यूपीआई ज़्यादा बड़ी ट्रांजैक्शंस पर किस तरह की कोई फीस लग सकती है? और दूसरा एक खबर ये कि यहाँ पर बैंकिंग सेक्टर का ये कहना है कि हम होम लोन में हमारे पास घर गिरवी है या गोल्ड लोन में सोना गिरवी है, लेकिन जब हम स्मार्ट अप्लायंसेस की बात करते हैं, जैसे स्मार्टफोन हो गया, तो यहाँ पर रिकवरी पॉसिबल नहीं है. तो क्या बैंक्स उसको रिकवर करने के लिए पुराने वाले तरीके पर जा सकता है कि जहाँ पर फ़ोन लॉक हो गया अगर आपने किस्त नहीं भरी? और जिस तरह आज सेबी का एक एक्ट वैलिड हैंडल जो लॉन्च हो रहा है कि अगर मैं पैसे भर रही हूँ किसी को तो मुझे पता चल जाएगा कि ये फ्रॉड है, ये सेबी रजिस्टर्ड नहीं है। तो ऐसा ही कोई ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म कि अगर मैं किसी को पैसे ट्रांसफ़र करूँ तो मुझे ये समझ में आ जाए कि ये एक फ्रॉड अकाउंट हो सकता है या मैं इसमें फंस रही हूँ।
3 प्रश्न। पहला, यूपीआई पे क्या कोई चार्ज लग रहा है? तो ऐसा कोई अभी हमारा सामने ऐसा कोई प्रस्ताव नहीं है। दूसरा, आपने कहा कि क्या मोबाइल फ़ोन को जो लोन दिया गया है मोबाइल फ़ोन खरीदने के लिए, क्या उसे लॉक करने की इजाज़त दी जा सकती है या नहीं दी जा सकती है, जिस प्रकार से अन्य गृह लोन के लिए या ऑटो लोन के लिए इजाज़त दी हुई है। ये मामला अभी परीक्षणाधीन है। हम इसको क्योंकि इसमें दोनों तरह से हमारे पास में तर्क और वितर्क आ रहे हैं, उनका हम अध्ययन कर रहे हैं। हमारा ये प्रयास है कि जो हमारे ग्राहक हैं, कंज्यूमर हैं, उनका जो अधिकार हैं, जो डेटा प्रिवेसी है, वो सुरक्षित रहे। कंज्यूमर इंटरेस्ट, ग्राहकों का इंटरेस्ट, हित वो सर्वोपरि है। साथ ही साथ जो लेंडर्स हैं उनका इंटरेस्ट भी किस प्रकार से सुरक्षित रखा जा सकता है, ये मैटर अभी अध्ययनाधीन है। तीसरा आपका प्रश्न था फ्रॉड के बारे में शायद, राइट? उसके लिए कुछ कार्य हम लोग, ये एक गंभीर विषय है, इसके ऊपर में हमने कई कदम पहले भी उठाए हैं और निरंतर हमारा ये प्रयास रहेगा कि किस प्रकार से हम जो फ्रॉडुलेंट तरीके से एक अकाउंट से दूसरे अकाउंट में पैसा निकाल लिया जाता है उसको हम किस प्रकार से रोकें। उसी क्रम में पहले हमने आपको म्यूल हंटर के बारे में बताया था, उसी प्रकार से एक अन्य जो एक एक्सपेरिमेंट, ये अभी एक्सपेरिमेंट की स्टेज पे है, अभी इसको पूरी तरह से हमने लागू नहीं किया है। उसको हम अभी जो हमारा सॉफ्टवेयर है हम तैयार कर रहे हैं कि किस प्रकार से पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन लेते हुए पहले से ही यदि हम ग्राहक को ये सचेत कर दें कि ये एक रिस्की ट्रांजैक्शन है, आप इसको न करें, तो उसके लिए हम अभी प्रयास कर रहे हैं। अंग्रेज़ी में यही बात कहने के लिए मैं हमारे डीजी को निवेदन करूंगा, वो आपको अन्य सबके लिए, तीसरा वाला जो प्रश्न है वो अंग्रेज़ी में सबके लिए, और दूसरा वाला जो प्रश्न है जो मोबाइल फ़ोन के बारे में है, मैं डीजी MRR को बोलूँगा कि वो अंग्रेज़ी में इसी चीज़ को वो रूपांतरित करें। Yes.
Yeah. No, I will not try to translate what the governor said, but yeah, it's basically this, the digital payments intelligence platform. You would recall that RBI had set up a group, it had announced. We are now implementing it. As the governor said, the actual prototype is getting developed by our innovation hub. An entity is being set up to run this. The basic idea behind this platform is that you collect information from whatever sources are available, mule accounts, telecoms, geography, where the call is coming from, and whatever else, whatever information is available. And you have an AI system which is being trained on this information. And the idea is that this system will alert before a transaction by saying that this transaction is risky. Based on the alert, the customer will have to take a call or the bank will have to take a call. So we expect that this will have a significant impact in terms of reducing, the number of frauds that we see in the system. By no means, I'm saying that the number of frauds are high. The number of frauds are well under control. If you look at number of frauds per transactions in UPI and others, they're quite low. But these systems will further lower those transactions. Thank you.
The issue of digital locking, which I think I had referred to, I think the issue is under examination, as Governor has pointed out. And there are pros and cons on both sides in terms of balancing the customer rights and requirements, data privacy, and also the creditors' requirements. So we are examining the issue. We will evaluate the pros and cons, and then take a view at a later point in time.
Thank you, sirs. Next, I'll ask Ms. Sangeeta Mehta from Economic Times. Sangeeta, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, my question is on forms of business. You all have relaxed the guidelines, and you have said that the board of the banks will have the discretion to decide. Why has RBI chosen to relax the norms? And sir, on one more thing on this, what would be the specific macro-prudential tools that you would be using for larger exposure framework?
So, first thing, you are saying relaxation. Let me first of all clarify that that was only a draft. So it was not a final kind of a guideline or a direction. So the other thing is, see, we don't want to micromanage. We believe that the banks will take a conscious, considered, balanced view, depending on their needs as to how they wish to conduct their own business. And so that's why, we have just left it to them. Second question was?
What would be the
Macro-prudential tools. A number of them.
No, we have
I'll leave it to the
tools which are available. Maybe we can look at, say, putting a cap on the exposure from all the banks, because I think the fundamental point which Governor mentioned was the concentration risk. All the banks' collective exposure to a single entity. So we could think of limits for that. But that is something which can be considered at a particular point in time, if appropriate.
And then we have supervision.
Yes.
Also. We can also put in supervisory measures in case required.
But this will be draft first.
Yes.
This is final now.
Forms of business is final.
Yeah. Forms of business is final.
No, the large credit.
That is draft. That is a draft circular.
Thank you, sirs. Next, we'll have Mr. Ashish Agashe from PTI. Ashish, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, a quick follow-up to Vishwanathan's and Swati's questions. So earlier there was a perception that financial stability sort of foregrounds RBI's approach on things. Are we to now understand that it's a sort of turn towards being more pragmatic? And so second quick question, sir, how do you look at these adverse weather events right now? Since the last policy there have been more. So how do you look at this from an inflation and growth perspective?
I don't think, that you should see these measures as any kind of a relaxation or kind of letting go our sight, from financial stability. Stability is foremost for us. Whether it is price stability, whether it is financial stability, that is foremost not only for us, I think for the country as a whole, it's very, very important. Because if you do not have price stability, there are consequences. Similarly, financial stability, one episode of financial instability can take you, many years behind. So all of us need to be very conscious of that. At the same time, we have to be very careful. We have to ensure that we are not in any ways impeding growth or limiting whatever are the fulfillment of the genuine requirements of the various productive sectors of our economy. So financial stability, price stability will continue to be the primary focus of the Reserve Bank, as it is for all other central banks as well. Weather-related events, yes, they do have an impact on both growth and on inflation. There have been a number of them. At the same time, let's also keep in mind that the government has also put in place a number of measures now. The supply chain management is much better. and they are able to respond to them better. And so that's why we have seen that over the years, despite there being more weather-related events, as you mentioned, inflation has been much better behaved. It's been lower, last 10 years vis-a-vis earlier 10 years. So, and at the same time, we will also do whatever is required for the health of our banking system to be able to take care of any weather or climate-related risks.
Thank you, sir. Next question will be from Mr. Ankur Mishra from ET Now. Ankur, please.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Hello, sir. I want to ask you regarding the rupee depreciation, which you have mentioned in the policy also, you will take measured as and when required. In the MPR, the revision of exchange rate has been there from 86 to 88 this time. I want to understand from you, is the current exchange rate comfortable for you? And also talking about MPR, you have made projections for inflation also 4.5%. In that context, keeping the neutral rates and talking about the real rates here, it is below the estimate. How much of the scope of then easing is there for you?
What is below the estimate?
Real rate. 4.5%, sir, is the projection which has been given in the MPR.
Okay. So, your first question was on?
Rupee.
Rupee. So, rupee, see, we do not, you asked me, whether you are comfortable with this rate, etc. So, we do not target, any level or any price band. Our effort has been to manage any undue volatility, and we will continue to do so. Insofar as you are saying the real rate is concerned going forward, you are saying is 4.5%, that is in Q1. So there are a number of things, which go into it. And it's not only inflation that we have to look at, we have to also look at growth in our overall macro, in our monetary policy. And so, based on that, we have continued to retain the policy repo rate at 5.5% and the stance at neutral.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Next, we'll have Mr. Mahesh from Financial Express.
Thank you, sir. With all these measures taken, are you still seeing any green shoots in the capex happening in this country, especially with the large corporates, apart from the infra and the renewable sector? Thank you.
Yeah, we had a good number, in Q1. We had a good, healthy number. A lot of sectors we are seeing good demand. I think cement, for example, auto, a lot of other sectors, they are seeing a good demand for capex. And on the whole, we are confident that capex will further going forward revive. Private capex will revive.
Thank you, sir. Sir, next it will be Mr. Aryan from Informist Media. Aryan, please.
Thank you, sir. This question is for both the Governor and DG Gupta, if possible. The MPC resolution said that the MPC was waiting for the impact of prior steps to take further action on rates. Eventually, the transmission of the prior actions will take place. Considering your growth and inflation forecasts for the next few quarters, what do you think will stop you from cutting rates, especially considering the real and nominal GDP? The real and nominal GDP numbers in the June quarter painted very different pictures of the economy. Thank you, sir.
Leave it to you.
Sure. As you know, monetary policy is a forward-looking response. So while Q1 numbers have actually been surprisingly good, as you said, but there is some softness projected in the second half of the year. And inflation numbers have also been surprisingly very, very benign. So I guess taking into account both of those developments, as we said in the statement, some room has opened, but it has to be contextualized with everything else that's happening, both domestically and globally. So it's a fast evolving, very, very fluid situation. Yes, Q1 numbers have been good, but those are only one factor in the number of things that we consider for monetary policy action. And that is an important factor, but it's a backward-looking factor. So to that extent, there is room, but as has been said and has been also repeated by Sir, a number of other things will be taken into account before deciding the next action in December.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we'll have Mr. Laltendu ji from the Hindu.
Good afternoon, Governor. You have partly answered my question that I'll be asking. This is about the impact of the tariff on the Indian economy. Have the RBI or the MPC mapped different, the impact into different sectors? Thank you, sir.
Yes, we have we have the map. We have the details. You are aware, which are the sectors: gems and jewelry, shrimps, textiles. Now maybe a little bit of very little extent, generic branded pharma, which has now come in later, footwear. These are the primary sectors, which will be impacted.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll have Ms. Subhana from the Mint.
Hi, sir. So, sir, I wanted to go back to the first question on monetary policy transmission. You said that and there has been an impact of yields have gone up by 30 to 35 basis points. Now, that has gone up since the June monetary policy, and we've seen some headwinds on monetary policy transmission. So, what is it that is RBI concerned about this monetary policy transmission getting impacted through the bond channel? In your assessment, would you bring back OMOs or GSEC purchases? In what way would you signal, to ensure the market that the policy repo rate adjustments, would feed through long-term rates?
See, the primary tool that we have for monetary policy transmission is the policy repo rate, and align the policy, the operational target, which is our Walker, to the policy repo rate. Last month, it was at 5.46%. There has been broad-based transmission, as I mentioned to you, across all sectors, whether it is money markets, bank credit, even corporate bonds. Corporate bonds are down from their peak by 50 basis points, 5-year AAA corporate bonds. And similarly, for other bonds also. Similarly, for government securities also. It's a process. It takes time, and we are hopeful that the transmission will take place, even in other sectors. Please also keep in mind that even in 10-year, as I mentioned, it's about 25-30 basis points. Only because of monetary policy, it had decreased by even more, 60 basis points. There have been certain developments after that. The other thing is, 10-year will not move 1:1. Let's keep that also in mind. So 25-30 basis points, while there is scope for more, and we feel that it should head downward. A number of measures have been contemplated in this regard, including, how the primary GSEC auctions will be held, the tenor of these government offerings, not only central government as well as state government. We are quite confident that monetary policy transmission will happen, even has already happened to a great extent, and will continue going forward.
Thank you, sir. From the left-hand side itself, Mr. Ben from New Indian Express. Ben, please.
Hi, sir. What is a complaint or a suggestion? The RBI statements and releases are coming too late these days and in too many bunches. It could be given on a reasonable time. It could be, we can't do a better job of that. Like that banking, the regulation, 7 regulation changes, it came at 10:20. Or the bulletin came, last bulletin came at 11:30 or something. It's beyond our capacity to manage.
We work 24/7.
So that's one thing.
I get the point, and we will endeavor that we bring them out. What time do you want them out? Huh? By 6 p.m. Okay.
Sir, my question is, of course, I know RBI doesn't
6
name
p.m.
it.
So we all will issue all whatever documents, press releases, primarily regulations, by 6 p.m. Okay.
Thank you.
By 6 p.m. By 6 p.m.
Sir, I know.
And if anything is getting delayed beyond 6 p.m., then issue it next day, right?
Thank you.
Is what you want.
Thank you.
Fair point.
So my question is, I know RBI doesn't name individual entities it is regulated, but this is about the Tata Sons application which was submitted last August to seeking the registration of their NBFC license.
Whose?
Tata Sons. Does the company
individual
I know, sir,
individual entities, we don't comment on individual matters.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, next we'll have Mr. Piyush from Hindu Business Line. Piyush, please.
Good afternoon, sir, DGs. Thanks, Punitji. Sir, you had issued, discussion paper on FIT framework, ma'am. The deadline for public feedback has gone last month. What is the sort of suggestions that you have received, whether to stick with headline or core, narrowing the band, and by when can we expect, because it's supposed to be implemented from March next year. One. Second is
Which one? Which?
flexible inflation.
Oh, okay. Flexible.
Yes. So separately, there are over 2,000 urban cooperative banks in the country. We have seen over the past year that there have been governance issues at some of these, and which has led to substantial frauds and depositors getting hurt. What is the rationale for giving new licenses to UCBs, or do you feel there is still financial inclusion? That penetration is still yet to be done. And just a follow up to Ben sir's question. I mean, we understand that you don't comment on entities, sir, but this deadline was supposed to be yesterday. So now what happens? Now they're non-compliant. So what is the view we take?
So your first question on FIT, see, that's a discussion paper. We have got various suggestions, and basis those suggestions, we will now finalize our recommendations as per the provisions of the amended Act, and we'll send our recommendations to the government. This was a public consultation. We did so as to enable all stakeholders to participate in development. Have happened. After that, However, whether to open up licensing again or not, and if to do it with what guardrails, is a question that we will be putting for all of you to respond to and to comment, and only thereafter we will be taking a view on it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. A couple of questions from the right-hand side, sir. We'll have Mr. Krishna Kaushik from Financial Times. Krishna, please.
Thank you, sir. I had the same question that was asked over there. Sir, for Tata Sons, does it, because the deadline has come and passed, does it mean that they have got an exemption for now for floating an IPO? I know it's not a single entity question, it's a policy question, because they haven't floated the IPO yet and the deadline has passed.
See, we as I mentioned, we don't comment on any specific entities. Any entity which has a registration till it is not cancelled, any entity will continue to do its business.
Thank you, sir. And lastly, we'll have Mr. Somajit Saha from Nikkei.
Hello, Governor. We wanted to talk about the rupee because some of the predictions from the more bearish economists is that a further weakening may be expected over the next few months. There is obviously some benefits coming out of that when it comes to export competitiveness, but there is also the public sentiment side of things. You know, it is something that is often sentimental or even politicized. We just want to understand how the RBI looks at public sentiment around weakening of the rupee or any such movement. Does that kind of feature in the way you think about it in your considerations of your actions? How important is the public sentiment there?
See, as I mentioned, we don't target any level, any band. Now, if there is any public opinion, etc., we suppose that gets factored in the prices of the rupee. But we don't push or target any band. We only try to maintain, remove, undue any abnormal volatility. And we have sufficient reserves, as I already mentioned. So there is no reason, why it should impact the sentiments or emotions of the public.
Thank you, sir. With this, we come to the close of this press conference. Sir, thank you, and thanks to all the top management for answering all the questions and making this very interactive. I thank all the media participants for being here, and I wish you all a pleasant day. Thank you.